Welcome to NetworkLeads.com, your best source for quality leads, training, and systems.
One of the things I've always learned about how to understand anything is by telling a story, or at least having a picture in your mind of what's going on. The challenge with many people in this industry is if it's new, it takes a long time to kind of figure out how it works. Now, if you're doing whatever you've been doing, like if you're a parent or a grandparent, chances are, more than less likely, you figured most of that stuff out, more or less. You know, if you have enough kids, you kind of figure out the kids thing. Have one kid, who knows, right? Got enough kids, on the fourth one, by the time they're teenagers or getting married, you kind of figure it out. Like, this is how it works. I'm going to talk about 3 stories tonight. The first one is putting the pieces of a puzzle together when you're working with your leads or building your business, and it forms the word styled. So the first thing we're going to talk tonight about is the word styled. The second one we're going to talk about is a little bit like bowling. Maybe even squeeze in another one, and that's our Betty Crocker analogy as well. Let's get started. So let's talk about the first one. It forms the acronym STYLED, S-T-Y-L-E-D. What are the variables involved here? Very few things stand by themselves. They always interact with something else. And in reference to this, I said, what are the components, if somebody buys leads from us, that are multiplied together that are going to equate to like results at the end? And I think about like a math equation. I wonder what the variables are. Let's see. The systems that people use, either the systems that they use with our leads, like are they using our lead management system, or are they using conference calls with their business, or they have websites? So the systems would have to be in place as well. Training, that would certainly be a variable on whether someone's leads would work for them or not. What about them, themselves, like you, Y-O-U? Obviously, if they're working with our leads would be one of the variables. The E stands for your level of enthusiasm, because if you don't have enthusiasm, well, that obviously takes everything away. They got to go to work, right? If they don't work, stuff doesn't happen. So it's like, what do they do? So then I put down the word do. Styled equals results. If you haven't figured it out by now, there is no one way to do this business, and that's both good and bad. Many times we get too many ways to do things in this business. Too many ways is too much for me, or maybe too much for you. And you probably know what I mean. Whenever I think about all these things, I think about a Chinese buffet. You can't eat everything in a Chinese buffet if it's a big buffet. Well, I guess you could, but you probably shouldn't. You're going to get hurt. I don't know. You're going to run across stuff you might be allergic to. You might run across stuff just in pure volume. They're going to have to roll you out by the time you're finished. And it certainly won't be conducive to you doing anything after you're done with the Chinese buffet. If you think about it, you probably want multiple ways of building your business, because some things, just like in the Chinese buffet, you want everyone leaving to be satisfied and happy. You do realize that there's chaos if people start like putting all the things all over the plates, wherever they go. So that's why I mean like a bowling alley, because this is something, besides the Chinese buffet example, you can see how things have to work together. Here's the next one, bowling. You'd say, what does network marketing or building a business have to do with bowling? I said, this one specifically is going to help you with the word system. And if you've ever been bowling before, and most people either have been or you've seen it done somewhere or another, you kind of picture, if you will, the back end of that bowling alley. What happens in the back of that bowling alley is a little bit like what happens in network marketing, as I've observed. So many people use the word duplicate, and they really don't know what that means. They think like Xerox duplication, like it's got to have a photocopy, if you will, an exact version. That's not the level of duplication that most people experience in this industry. Most of the times, it's like the positive chaos that happens in the back of the bowling alley. In the back end of that bowling alley, as the ball is rushing down that lane, what usually happens towards the back, there are 10 pins. And the goal, of course, would be get as many as you possibly can. And if you get lucky, or if you're really good, you're going to get all 10 down at the same time. Each one of those pins represents a different part of your system. When that first pin gets hit, or those multiple pins get hit, there's a little bit of positive chaos going on. There's things flying all over the place. And the system in your business is a little bit like that back end. Besides the 10 pins, there is the floor. Those pins bounce off the floor and hit another one. There's the walls on the left and the right. There's the ceiling or the top end of that back end bowling alley. And you know what? There's even a back end of that bowling alley, that little back wall. All of those things count to form the system that helps that ball, as it's hitting one pin, smash through everything else. And if you do it the right way, you have that positive chaos. No one in the world has ever thrown the same exact strike. But if you think about it, they're more or less the same, but each one of the pins probably never hit exactly in the same way at the same time ever. But does it have to? The answer is no. You kind of throw it in the right direction, and this system kind of takes care of itself. That's what you have to do if you're going to build your business. If you didn't have those things in place the way they were, it just wouldn't work. That positive chaos is the stuff that you want to drive. So that's example number 2. Let me talk to you about working leads. And we bring in Betty Crocker. If you're going to do the Betty Crocker analogy, you realize that you have whatever you bought from the grocery store, whatever you're going to grab from your closet. When you did everything the right way and you followed the instructions for the recipe, but you waited until you were done to judge the results. And again, this is in reference to like working leads. Imagine if we decided to stop anywhere along the line and then just taste whatever we're eating, and then we'd say, that's not like cake.
That's not like chocolate cake. What's wrong here?
Because you didn't realize you have to go through the whole entire process. Well, in reference to working your leads, everything kind of has to line up if you're going to get things done the right way and if you're going to like the end result. If you haven't been thinking about that stuff on that level, it's real easy to either get lost and or disillusioned and or frustrated or any of the other feelings that somebody might have that might not be perceived as positive but might be perceived as negative. And hopefully it helps as far as getting your head together as far as figuring some of the stuff out that happens in this business. So I just wanted to kind of give you those analogies. Those are things we haven't spoken about in a long time,